Who else is here? We got Callum Lyle here. And Callum says Feige must be really desperate to get people from CW. Naomi, the same people that said 10 is the new 16 to write Daredevil. I'm not sure if I get all that, but evidently somebody
Well,
from the CW is writing
I know
Daredevil.
exactly what he means. He's
Okay,
referring
good.
to the writers that we
Right.
know of for Marvel's Daredevil, because as you all know, Daredevil used to be on Netflix, and then Bob Iger announced that now Disney Plus is going to be a thing. And then Netflix realized, hey, wait a minute, that means you're going to be a competitor. So why the hell would we promote your shows for a competitor? Even if they're at our platform, we're still promoting Disney and everything else Marvel. And that's going to go straight to Disney Plus, not to us, so screw that shit. And that's when they canceled all things Marvel. They canceled Daredevil, they canceled The Punisher, they canceled Jessica Jones, and that was pretty much what they had going. Because let's face it, Iron Fist wasn't coming back anyway. But then, several years later, the characters went out of moratorium, and Marvel could use them again. And it's funny because at the time when Netflix canceled these shows, many were excited about what Marvel could do. Would they continue where Netflix left off? Would they uh, be tonally the same? Would they also be TV rated MA, basically R rating for TV, or would they brighten it up a little bit? Well, now we know the answer because Daredevil first returned in She Hulk, and we all saw how that was. Like, he wasn't completely humiliated. Yeah, he had the walk of shame and everything like that, but he still got to kick some ass. He got to nail some She Hulk ass and stuff like that first, so that's pretty manly, I guess. But then, now we see exactly who are the writers. And one of them is from this person right here, who have some pretty questionable quotes. In fact, there are many very questionable writers associated with the Daredevil on Disney Plus. Many CW, many wokesters, many people who specialize in gender and all kinds of stuff that really have nothing to do with the Daredevil show. Who will be writing a Daredevil show? So let's just say that the writers that Marvel has put on Daredevil doesn't quite match the caliber of the writers that Netflix put on Daredevil. So yeah, that's what this is about. And is Feige desperate? I don't think he's desperate. If Feige had been desperate, he would have gotten some actual talent. What we're seeing right here is something else. This is them giving Daredevil the same kind of treatment they've given everything else, I think. Desperation doesn't come into it. This is just poor management because they're mad because their plan for the character is all out of whack, is what I would imagine. But what do you guys think? Paul, are you excited for Daredevil on Disney Plus? Do you think it can hold a candle to Daredevil on Netflix?
First of all, it will be impossible to match the first season. If it's as good as the second season, I'll be thoroughly happy. But even then, I don't think this crew has a hope in hell if all their writing style is CW. That being said, CW has its own limitations that they place on its writers because of its their budgets, right? Although, um, Daredevil is not it does not have CGI in it, or not much anyway. Yeah, and it's got to toe the Disney line. I would strongly imagine that every single one of the writers have got a social justice get out of jail card, or they wouldn't be allowed to write for it. Now, it does not bode well for the show at all, and it's a huge disappointment for me.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I'm not surprised. we kind of knew this was probably going to happen, especially when we found out it was going to be 25% different Daredevil. But when they bought the rights to the next Netflix version, that kind of threw me off. But that was that under Chapek's regime, Andre? Was that under Iger's? I was gonna say I thought that was under Chapek.
Yeah.
So there may have been a chance at one point, but then after the whole She-Hulk thing, my hopes went out the door for this show.
Yeah, no, if they wanted to, they could have made Daredevil season 4 because they bought the entire catalog. So they could just carry on and make season 4 with the same cast, same everything. There was no need to make any 25% difference after they bought the whole backlog from Netflix. At that point, they owned everything. And everything they choose to do different at this point is purely a creative choice and nothing else. Culture, your thoughts on this?
Oh, I had very low expectations going into all of this, but seeing as how we're now getting CW quality writers involved, again, you can definitely talk about the budgets, but I think since there's not really much budget restriction in a Disney production, I don't think you'll get anything better than what you got out of anything on the CW. I think this is going to stray so far from the original. You're right, Paul. It's not going to be anywhere close to the first season. It'll never measure up to even the second season. I think this is going to be this is going to be another telltale signs to all the people that were artificially propping up Disney, with all of these superhero shows that are going to go, you know what? I think I'm done. I think this is going to turn off more people than it brings in. And you're watching the accelerated decline and the terrible decision making of all of these people involved, and it seems like Disney is the one that is going. And I think we've talked about it before. I think Disney's the one that's going to continue along this same path, regardless of how detrimental it is to them in the future. And I feel like this is just going to be another indication of it, and might even actually just expose it fully. I have no hopes for this show now, and not that I had high hopes to begin with. But you bring in a writer from Naomi or whatever, and you're dooming your project. And like Paul said, it's probably their social justice get out of jail free card will be out there all the time. In fact, it's not even that; it's a shield. They're just going to hold up their social justice shield, and they'll guard themselves, from everything, and including all the criticism. Because preemptively, I already see it coming. I think you guys probably do too. They're going to attack us. They're going to attack us because we want this thing to represent the comics. And when it doesn't, they're going to say, well, we're an ist or a phobe or whatever. So just be prepared.
Well, and the funny part is like, I think that the whole reason they were doing the 25% different thing from the start is that Feige wanted to put his stank on it, right? He didn't like that Jeff Loeb got, a lot of praise for that, I'm sure, and that it was one of the more praised.
Accidental hit, basically.
Yeah, and now when he does this over here, when he does his version, which is going to be the lighter, more, whatever version we got after we've seen She-Hulk anyway. Like, it kind of goes into what I brought up on the screen here is Patrick's confused why they don't just bring in the same writers. Well, a logistic reason is some of them might not be available just for,
But if they wanted to,
like they're hired. But like for the most part, yes, I was just going to say, it's totally on Marvel and Feige in doing this. They are doing this on purpose. It is not like they couldn't bring back most of the original writers. And like Andre said, it's not like they couldn't just pick right up and do season 4, but it sounds like they're actually recovering or retreading ground they already have done in the first few seasons of Daredevil. Just so, like I said, to me, it feels like Feige just wants to be able to do his own